Hello, I am Tammy Gallagher, the AP coordinator at LTHS, and I am very glad that you are joining us today for our live stream AP seminar. We are going to try to answer as many questions as you have. I do want to have a very quick preamble that my area today has had intermittent Comcast service. So I'm very nervous, but I am really hoping I can get as many questions answered. If we are interrupted in any way, we will we will have a rain date or a makeup date, but I'm really hoping that we can get through as much as possible. I'm a naturally fast talker, but I'm going to try to slow down and check the chat because we have two great chat moderators today. Lori Cristofero, who's our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and Dr. Jen Webre, our Assistant Principal at East Campus. Both of them are going to be moderating today, so they will be able to answer questions via the chat, and I will also try to check in with the chat and make sure I can pick up any clarifications or anything that you have. First of all, I would like to say that this is certainly an unprecedented situation, and we are doing our very best to make sure everybody is aware of the changes and feeling really confident about moving forward. When the school closures began, the College Board really did struggle with what decision to make. Certainly canceling the exams was something that was discussed, but they did circulate some surveys and some polling, and students overwhelmingly, 91% of students who were surveyed said that they did want the opportunity to earn credit in the courses that they've been preparing in for so long. So that 91% I think is a really impressive number, and the students have worked so hard. We want them to have a good testing experience, even in this very, very difficult and unprecedented time. First of all, some very quick facts about the exam administration this year. There is going to be a traditional or standard exam window from May 11th to May 22nd. So I'm going to speak generally about the exams. There are dozens of different courses specifically, and some of the things that I'm going to talk about might be different from course to course, for instance, what type of question or the exam date. But those links are available on our website. We have the e-learning tab on our website, and there is a special in the left-hand column, the menu, there is a specific link for SAT and AP testing. So please feel free to check those links frequently and see what those resources are. There's a lot of specifics about exams, links from College Board, and other resources that would be very useful to you. So the exam window is May 11th to May 22nd. So you need to certainly check for your specific course when that's going to be. The exams are going to be standardized the same time, the same day, worldwide for each course, and this will be part of the test security features. Students will be able to take the exams at home, or if in places schools resume, they will be able to take them in schools as well, if that is the case in May. So again, much is unforeseen at this point. There is a makeup date as well. If there are students who have legitimate conflicts or issues, some of those might be technical issues, the dates June 1st through June 5th have been reserved for makeup testing. So that's kind of the window that we are looking at right now, and those specifics are also posted. As the College Board determined what to do, they wanted to set forth some very specific criteria for what they wanted to achieve. So real quickly, their thinking was they wanted the test to be short, obviously, because of some unforeseen things in the future. If schools did manage to resume in time for testing, they wanted the test to be able to be administered in a class period. So many of the tests clock in longer than 3 hours traditionally. So that would not be possible to take a 3-hour test in an average class period. So these tests are designed to be administered in a class period. They also wanted colleges and universities to support this plan and to accept the credit, which of course is one of the principal ambitions of students who are enrolling in AP. They want to earn this college credit. It's a very important part of the AP program. Colleges have been extremely supportive, and as you may imagine, many of them are contending with schedule changes and virtual learning that they are administering from their campuses. So they've been very supportive. Many colleges have released statements of support. And if you are interested in looking at what specific universities will accept, what constitutes a passing score, what type of credit is afforded to a student for a particular score, for a particular exam, I have posted the AP credit search policy, which basically you will be able to type in a specific university and see if I got a 4 on the AP Calculus exam, or if I got a 3 on the AP Language exam. How does that translate into credit or a placement at a specific university? So it's a really, really good tool. They also wanted this to be secure and fair, and I'm going to talk a lot about security practices and some procedures that are in place to ensure test security, exam security. The last thing that they really wanted to ensure was that students who were receiving accommodations would be able to have access to their accommodations, and I will be talking about that as well. So those criteria were really, really significant. So I would like to talk about the procedures. First of all, students will be sent a link, a secure link to the exam. So they would use that link to access their test on the designated exam date and time. It is extremely important to note that students need to be prepared to take these tests at home if they're in fact taking them at home. You want to be ready for this experience. You don't want to log in 2 minutes before your exam is supposed to begin. They're suggesting, the College Board is suggesting, that you log in 30 minutes prior to the start of your exam. So just as you would report for a test and get situated and do procedures with the proctor, you would want to be there 30 minutes before the start time, and that would be kind of a comforting thing for students, I think, as well. There will be some guidelines provided in late April. There's going to be an at-home testing guide published by the College Board that will assist everybody in feeling prepared for the technical requirements and the procedures that are going to be in place for the exam. If you, speaking of devices and procedures, if you feel that there's going to be any issues with connectivity or devices, the College Board is extremely committed to ensuring that students have access to devices and access to the internet so that they can test. They've actually, I just recently attended a webinar, and they've hired dozens of people to respond to inquiries where there might be issues with at-home situations or circumstances where connectivity is an issue. So if that is an issue, please reach out to me or your teacher. There is a form online to be filled out, which I've also posted under the frequently asked questions under the AP exam link in the e-learning section. There's also 2 ways to test, so there is some choice here. Students can actually handwrite their responses. The responses are going to be, again, roughly 45 minutes. They're going to have 45 minutes to prepare the responses, the free responses for their course. And they may use a computer, a tablet, a smartphone to do this. One option is to actually handwrite and to upload a picture of your response. Some students feel more efficient or more comfortable handwriting. Of course, the free responses that are administered for the traditional exam sittings are free response. Students handwrite their responses. So if that is what you're used to, if that's how you feel most comfortable, you will be able to do that. Through the link, you can also use a desktop or a laptop computer, and you can compose and submit your response. There is time allotted to upload and submit. So there is definitely been some thought given to this process in terms of the steps involved. You will be able to have suggested amounts of time to write, and you will also be given time to upload. And information and instructions that specify how to do that will be provided in that at-home testing guide that the College Board has promised for the end of April. So we don't have access to all of that right this minute, but I do want you to know that that will be forthcoming. So that will be a nice thing that you can look at and prepare, make sure that your technical specifications are met, and reach out to us if you have any questions as well. Types of questions, those have also been released and are posted. And again, I am going to speak to you generally. So if you want real course specific information about what kinds of questions and what types of questions, those are available by course. And again, there are dozens of courses. So a couple of things. Some courses have 1 question. So generally, the history area and the English area will have 1 larger question. All of these questions should be reflective of the types of skills and questions that your students, that you've already been preparing. So it's not like there's going to be a new format or a new type of question. It will just be specified. So I can speak very, very briefly about English language, because that's the AP course that I used to teach. There were 3 different essays that were used, that are assessed on that test, and they have specified 1 in particular that's going to be assessed for this lightweight form or this short form. So the students will have that knowledge in advance, so they can very much tailor their preparation to the type of question that they have been practicing throughout this year. Other subjects beyond English and history will have 2 questions, and there is, again, specified recommended amounts of time to spend on each one. Typically, there's going to be one that is about 25 minutes and one that's about 15 minutes with some time allotted to upload the response. For computer science principles, if you are a computer science principal student, that is a test that has components that are not traditionally assessed in like a sit-down setting. You have artifacts that you upload for computer science. They have actually dismissed or done away with the written component. So those students, computer science students, will only be assessed on their artifacts that they will upload that they've been preparing throughout the course. World languages is also kind of an outlier in this regard. Their free responses are going to be audio responses. They are going to have 2 questions, 2 speaking components, and so there will be some more information about what kinds of technology and what kinds of technical requirements are required for that. I do know that the Spanish language teacher, she was excited. She felt like her students would be very, very able to demonstrate their skills, and she felt like that would be the best format for them. Again, specifics about each course, what kinds of questions, whether it's 1 question, whether it's 2 questions, those that information is posted. So please refer to that e-learning tab and the AP link on the left-hand menu. Here is something that's extremely important. I did want to address this because this is again, atypical test setting. It is essentially an at-home test. There is going to be the understanding that there's no way to check something like notes. Students can use notes. There's nothing that's going to prevent them from opening a textbook or even doing a Google search. So they have declared that in essence, this is essentially an open note, open book kind of situation. But having said that, they have made it very clear that the information that's going to be really privileged on the exam, what students are really going to be expected to do is demonstrate applied understanding. So you can't simply rattle off a bunch of dates and expect that that's going to be demonstrative of mastery of the skills. They really want students to understand that even though you can consult notes or even though you can consult a textbook, the time that you spend reading or flipping through pages is time not spent composing a response, especially given the limited amount of time that you have. That is something to consider, and students should definitely be aware of that. Now, this open note format also does not include collaboration. So they've made it very clear that collaborating with others is not acceptable. That is not an acceptable kind of aid on the test. So students should not be keeping text threads with other students who are taking the test. They should not be asking someone else questions. They should not be, they should not really be discussing with another person what is going to, what their response is going to entail. It does have to be their own thinking. It should be their own applied understanding and their own applied knowledge. They do at the end of the test, and this is traditional practice as well, they have to sign and attest that the work is original and that the work is their own. So that is something that will definitely be a part of this exam experience as well. So while they can consult something, they just need to understand that collaboration is not going to be accepted. That's not an accepted kind of aid for this test. Students do also, I want to say this very quickly, students have to keep time for themselves. Typically a proctor can announce, proctor can say, you have 5 minutes remaining, or you have 10 minutes remaining. Often proctors, the script says this. There will be no proctor to make those announcements, so students are going to have to be cognizant of the passage of time. If they're going to write for 25 minutes and then write for 15 on the next question, they need to kind of keep that time themselves. So it's just something to consider in this format, and I just wanted to be sure to mention that. There are many security practices, and many people have raised questions. Teachers, students, the College Board has addressed some of these questions about exam security and practices that would be used. They have announced some security measures. They have made it known in 2 of the webinars that I have attended that they're going to not disclose all of them. They said we're going to disclose some security procedures and practices, but we would like to, in order to maximize their efficiency, we would like to ensure that some of them remain kind of undisclosed and unannounced. So here are the ones that they've mentioned to us. First of all, they said there will be some login procedures. So there's going to be procedures where when you log in, you will have to kind of notify or answer some questions that identify yourself. They want to do this to detect impersonators, essentially. They also said that they, have methods to analyze patterns, typing patterns, language patterns. They've also, for the first time, announced that they're going to disclose the exam answers to the teachers. So it's, not always teachers don't get to see what the students submitted, what they wrote. They are going to, I believe, May 26th, the date for the standard administration. They're going to return virtually. They're going to electronically allow teachers to see what students have submitted. So if there is, often a teacher's with a student for a year and they're familiar with the handwriting of that student or the writing style of that student. So those are some of the practices, some of the procedures that they are going to utilize to ensure the integrity of the test, which has always been an extremely important part of AP testing. They also, if any kind of integrity issue arises and cheating is discovered, they did state that they do notify both the high school and any university where the student was sending scores. So that is a really significant consequence. And they also reserve the right to prohibit a student from taking further AP tests in the future. So they say they do believe the vast majority of students are going to adhere to the standards that are in place. But they've made announcements about those kind of features. Additionally, accommodations. If you are entitled to, if you've been approved for accommodations through the College Board, someone who would get accommodations for SAT, is approved for AP as well, they are working to ensure that those accommodations will be provided. The vast majority of accommodations that are approved nationally basically is extended time. And they did say that that is not only the most common accommodation, but it's also the easiest to facilitate. So you would get that extended time when you log in if that was the approved accommodation. So they are aware of that. They're aware of who is entitled to receive accommodations. Preparation. I had a couple of questions about preparation. Obviously, our AP teachers are doing a phenomenal job trying to continue to teach in this virtual style, and they are using many resources provided by College Board and many of their own resources to facilitate learning. I just was speaking with a teacher the other day, and she said, actually, I have taught all the way to the end. We were going to review. She goes, we're going to continue to review up until the test. So many students are in a really wonderful position, and they have really wonderful humanistic teachers who are really trying to meet their needs in this climate. One thing that you should obviously do is continue to participate in the virtual lessons that teachers are posting. They are really, really very high level, and teachers are really trying to support student learning in every possible way. They also did have a question about review sessions. Traditionally, we have a lot of AP teachers who hold review sessions before school and after school. There's going to be multiple ways for students to review. Teachers are going to provide lots of opportunities for review. One way to review is to utilize the YouTube channel that is put on by College Board. They've actually hired teachers to record lessons, and these lessons have been live streamed, and they're available on the YouTube channel. So you can actually see teachers from all over the country teaching lessons for virtually every single course. They did have teachers teach all the way to the end of the curriculum. So there's actually live streamed and posted lessons on the YouTube channel that go all the way to the end of the course, even if it's material that won't be tested. One of the things that was decided in creating the test is that the test would focus on material that was primarily in a year-long course taught through March. So they were really obviously privileging information that students were in attendance for. So that was, something that was important. The YouTube channel has lessons for the entire course material, and they're going to have review lessons as well, beginning in April. So some of those are already posted. So there's going to be reviews online. Teachers will also have review materials and different things to make sure that students feel extremely prepared. There is also going to be some other AP Classrooms resources available. This was the very first year that students were connected through College Board to resources that were basically electronic. So they had question banks, and they had retired exams, and they had resources this year for the first time that have not been accessible before. And those resources are still available, and teachers are utilizing those, have been utilizing those resources throughout this year. There is more to come. The College Board is still going to have information that is going to be published. As I mentioned, the technical requirements are going to be published in the at-home guide in late April. So some of those more specific things we don't necessarily know right this minute. They did say they're going to try to maintain some consistency with score reporting. So typically scores are reported in mid-July. They're going to try to meet that deadline. They did say that even though the tests are going to be shorter, they have spent some money and decided to have inter-rater reliability. They're going to have more people read the responses, so they're going to increase the reliability of the scoring. So they are going to really try to have scores available in a timely fashion, even though the timeline for the test has shifted a little bit. So those are the big topics that I wanted to cover, and I know there's been a bunch of questions going up, but I've been kind of referring to my notes. So I don't know if our moderators have questions and clarifications that I can provide right now, because I feel like I've missed a lot with the chat. So if either Lori or Jen want me to go back or clarify or respond to anything that I missed, I would be certainly wanting to address that. Okay, Dr. Webberry said, on the typical AP exam, we have a bubble form to fill out with all of our information. Will there be something similar to the online test? That is interesting. This year, actually, they were not going to have the traditional bubble form because students had registered with the College Board. They had that demographic data already. So they actually have that demographic data because of the system that was in place starting this year. We actually were going to be able to dispense with the pre-registration meeting where students had to fill in laboriously all of the bubbles. We weren't going to have to do that this year. So the College Board does have that information. It is connected to the accounts. Dr. McBride, I'm glad that your students were able to learn something. Let me see. Any other questions? If Lori or Jen have additional questions or clarifications for me, I'd love to get at those. Site for a while, but I've been searching the AP site for a while, but I have not been able to find any students who have technical issues or possible other issues. Yes, this is a great question about technical issues. I will speak as a coordinator, and if there are technical issues, they've historically had an excellent helpline for coordinators during the exam administration, and I can certainly guarantee that they are going to have some kind of appeal or some kind of assistance for that. I think one of the reasons they want to publish this at-home manual, and one of the reasons why they want students to log in 30 minutes in advance, is because they want to try to rectify any of those issues as much as possible. But the late testing date, the June 1st through June 5th late testing date, that would also be available if something happened. So if there was some kind of issue with, some technical glitch, if your internet goes out, as I was worried tonight my internet would go out, they are understanding of that. So that is one of the reasons for the late testing date. I think that might be especially useful this year. Let me see. I feel like I've missed a completely important email notice. When will the AP testing take place, and what is the website for registration? Okay, all of the updates regarding AP testing are posted on our website. So if you go to the e-learning tab and the AP testing tab, there's information about the specific dates for each test. The May 11th through 22nd window is when the standard tests are going to occur. If you think you are not getting emails, I could double check that. You can always email me. I did have one question, and I wanted to address this right here at the end as well. Some students weren't sure if they were getting all the correspondence from the College Board. What you should still be able to do is log into your AP Classroom account, and you should be able to see if you are registered for the test. I've actually had a few emails this week from students who said, like, I want to make absolutely certain I'm registered for the test. And if you really feel like you open your AP Classroom account, if you log into your College Board and you're just not sure or you can't remember, you can email me and I can look that up for you. So again, my email is tgallagher@lths.org. But I think most students who log in, and I don't have the student view, but I think they can see that they are scheduled to take or registered to take the test. Let me check that. Okay. And I'm going to look here for any other questions. I see a question, what if my registration did not get completed? Students who did not register, if you did not choose to take the test, if you didn't register during the registration period, that was actually one of the most frequently asked questions by coordinators. They are not going to reopen registration. So they basically said the undertaking for this altered exam format was really, it's been obviously very strenuous for the College Board, but they said they did not see how they were going to be able to open up a registration period again. The registration has been locked, and so even as a coordinator, I cannot go in and manipulate the registration at this point. Their registration period ended, and they locked the system so that I cannot add or do anything else at this point with respect to registrations. I see a computer science principals question. Do computer science students upload their artifacts and their portfolios and submit to their teacher? Yeah, the actual portfolio deadline has been extended. So both art and computer science principals are two courses that involve portfolio assessment, and the College Board has extended the deadline for those portfolios, and teachers do help facilitate that. So if you have questions, you can email me, you can email your teacher. There is still time, of course, to submit your artifacts for computer science, and of course your art pieces for your portfolio. Oh, good question. Ms. Cristofero said, will any issues arise with 2 back-to-back exams? I did not say this, but this was something that was clarified just for me on Friday. The College Board stated that their exam schedule, their new exam schedule has, in their view, prevented conflicts. So in the past, you might have had a conflict where 2 tests were scheduled at the same time, and then we would have to address that with late testing. They said that they have worked to ensure that there is no conflicts. And to do that, I think part of what they did is there's different windows throughout the day. So you could have a test at 3 p.m. You could have a test at 10 a.m. They really tried not to put things at the same time. They tried to spread that schedule, that May 11th through May 22nd schedule out so that there would be no conflicts. They mentioned that the late testing, a student might have another kind of conflict. A student might have a technical issue. A student might have something like that. So I do think that the late testing window is important, but they do say that anyone registered should plan to test during that first window, the standard window, which is May 11th through May 22nd. And they did say that, you know, everybody who is registered is going to get their secure link to that test. So if there is a conflict or an issue, then we would look to the late testing window, the June 1st through June 5th window. Oh, excellent question. We already registered for the first day. Do we need to re-register? No, if you are registered, you are registered. You do not have to do anything else. If you if you were already going to take the test on the regular schedule, this new format and this new circumstance, you do not have to do anything. There is no new fees or anything. There's no new registration. You're registered. You're good. Let me see. Other questions? Other questions? Is there a procedure in place for technical difficulties during the test? I feel that there is going to have to be. They usually have a procedure in place for traditional testing when we have it at school, face-to-face testing. I feel that they're probably going to really elaborate on what that's going to be in the guide they're publishing at the end of April, the at-home testing guide. So I think this at-home testing guide, which we will also link to our, we are going to link it to our page, that is going to have the more specific information about troubleshooting, about specs for anything technical, about procedures regarding uploading. I think all of that more technical information is going to be there. And also possibly, I'm sure they would have a number that could be called. They have many people on hand, typically in a regular testing year, to assist coordinators with any kind of issue that arises. Is it necessary for students to select colleges where they want results sent for a freshman who does not have any idea? No. Typically, no. Even when we used to do the, the bubbling and students were able to select colleges, it was really principally seniors who would do that. They will, as you kind of move through your 4 years of high school, many students take AP courses all the way through. They will send your scores at the end of your high school career when you're a senior and you want to definitively say, I'd like to send it to this school. I assume, since we did not have the bubbling day, as I mentioned, I assume that there will be an opportunity via their electronic correspondence or the login or the submission process where you'll be able to designate a university. In the old way, they used to give us a little booklet, and every single university had a code. They had like digits assigned to them, and students could find the university that they were going to attend or that they wanted to send their scores to, and then they would bubble in the code for that particular university. And in lieu of that, since we don't have that bubbling in, I'm sure there'll be some kind of electronic equivalent to that. Let's see. If you have questions beforehand, could you let me know? I see a refund question. Refunds are full refunds. If a student decides they do not want to take the test under these circumstances or for whatever reason, depending on the university that they're attending, full refunds will be made. You can go to total registration and you can request a refund for a particular course. Maybe some people might request for one course and not another, depending on their circumstance. But they're not charging the late fee. The College Board did announce a significant cancellation fee this year, and because of these circumstances, they're not going to go through with withholding the money. So a full refund is available for students who do not want to take the test and who want to request one through total registration. How do AP scores get sent to schools? They're sent through the College Board. Again, there was a question about how to request, your scores. Again, typically you can request your scores be sent to a particular university. It used to be that you could request one for free. You could send to one school for free, and then if you came back later and you wanted to send to other schools, there was a slight fee, and that is accessible on the College Board website as well. But that is how the scores get reported. Does the test end or time out when the time is up? That's a really good question. They said that there is going to be, and this wasn't, I think the at-home manual is going to clarify some of this, but they did say there's going to be an allotted time. So if it says like you have 25 minutes to write, 5 minutes to upload, you have 15 minutes to write and 5 minutes to upload. I'm sure that these aren't going to be, like extremely, horrifyingly rigid, especially if we're talking about technology here. I'm sure there's a window that you would have to kind of get that in by. Again, the test does have a timed component, even if it's at home. But they did not say that they did not specify exactly how that would end, how the test would end, or how if it would time out in a certain way. They did mention, as I think I said, students do have to keep time themselves. They kind of have to be aware of how much time has elapsed, or especially if they're moving from one. Any other questions? I am going to wait a minute to see if there's any other questions, test related or procedure related, and I will, please feel free, Jen or Lori, to put up a question if I've missed anything or if there's any kind of clarification. All right, I am going to thank you for being here, and I truly hope that some of your questions were answered. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to forward them to me. We've tried to keep good communication with the teachers, and I know many teachers have posted a lot of the links and updates from College Board. So we will continue to update the e-learning page under the AP menu, and I will try to continue to post anything that's new, especially the at-home guide that's going to be published, and any other information that might be useful to families. So I know that we have so many people who are so well prepared, and I think that there's a lot of support for testing, and so many good things that are happening, even with these unforeseen things that have occurred. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you so much for supporting the learning of your students.